Hi, Hillary.
How are you, darling?
Oh, I'm all good. Oh my goodness me, look at that. You
So
made it.
I made a little bit of a bagel with your brisket, pastrami.
Did you bake the bagel?
I put it in the toaster.
Yeah, okay, good enough.
Perfect, perfect. So everybody watching, Jack will probably join us in a minute as well. But this is Sizzling Saturday. This is the Afterburn with Lina Baker of Baker and Brisket, who has got an amazing story that we're looking forward to hearing about. Um, and you make pastrami and brisket, don't you, Lina? Tell us a little bit about yourself, about your what you're brewing up there.
Right, so brisket is pastrami and pastrami is brisket. So brisket is the cut of beef that pastrami is made from. I
Yeah.
suppose you can make pastrami from other cuts as well. But brisket traditionally, which used to be quite a cheap cut and tough, and you have to cook it for a long time, somehow became really trendy. Not necessarily here in the northwest of England, but maybe in other countries and certainly down south. But
Yeah.
I decided to kind of bring it back up here because we don't know much about it. It's an amazing cut. So it undergoes such a lengthy process of curing for 2 weeks, 3 weeks sometimes. It just depends on the brisket.
Mm.
But what we make is both pastrami and salt beef. So salt beef is the poached brisket after curing process. Pastrami is the smoked bit. Now, literally every single time someone buys brisket from us, they always ask what's the difference between the two. And really, the only difference is the salt beef is poached and the pastrami is smoked. That's it. So when people think of pastrami, they probably think of, the really thin sawdust type of stuff you buy in supermarkets, the things that fall apart. So
Mm.
our pastrami isn't that. Our pastrami is an actual brisket joint that you can reheat at home, just like you did there. And then you carve it as any other, normal joint, except for it's just, it smells nice, it tastes nice. Well, I grew up with smoked stuff, so I'm biased, obviously. To me, it's all nice. What did you think?
Fantastic. I've already had one. I already sneakily had one for breakfast already this morning.
No.
Yeah, and then I made this one just to show you a little bit later, just to show you during the show. I've already, and it was delicious. I love the pickles you had with it as well. The sauerkraut. Is that the correct name?
Sauerkraut. So sauerkraut, in Lithuania, where I'm from, we would call it rauginti kopūstai. So basically, sauerkraut is cabbage. It's white cabbage, but it goes through a fermentation process, again, just like brisket. It goes through a very long process from like a white cabbage to becoming something that is extremely healthy for you as well. So for your gut and for your well-being, if you had sauerkraut every day, by the age of 70, you'd still feel like a 20-year-old. There's a lot of health benefits. I'm not going to talk about health benefits of sauerkraut. It's probably too boring for people who don't like cabbage. But it's, yeah, you just have to close your eyes, don't breathe if you don't need to, just eat it every day.
It's very true. It's very true. I like kimchi, which is sort of a very similar thing as
Very
well. And it's just wonderful for your stomach. I know for me, there's your sort of stomach bit, the main bit, the first bit. There's something afterwards in your tummy, and that's where sauerkraut and kimchi really help out, and just sort of you just feel it glowing in there after you've had a bit of a meal of it, and it just sort of, I don't know, helps everything shuffle along a little bit, I find, and gives you a really nice glow. Just makes you feel like something positive's happening inside, I found. So yeah. And then also with your brisket, you have a Russian sauce with it as well.
The
Um,
Russian dressing, it's funny how in Russia nobody knows of this Russian dressing. It's basically, yeah, that's the one. That's our Russian dressing. So it tastes a little bit like Thousand Islands if you've ever had it before, except
mm,
for it has a lot of pickle in there. So gherkins, shallots. I keep shallots in the same kind of pickle vinaigrette, if you like, to pickle them as well. So it's just sour. But it helps with pastrami in particular because pastrami is quite salty, and so is salt beef. So it cuts through that almost like a little bit too much of saltiness. So it creates a really perfect balance, which is why we use sauerkraut as well, because sauerkraut is quite sour to taste. I mean, I eat it on its own all day long, and I could eat it forever with pastrami. But together, the two of them, if you find pastrami too salty or salt beef too salty, that balances it out. And so does Russian dressing. But like I say, in Russia, actually, so my family are from Russia, so we descended from Siberia. And my mum and dad never heard of this Russian dressing. It's a totally made up thing in the West countries. But I adopted it because it actually tastes really nice.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's fantastic. It does. It tastes very much like Thousand Island dressing. Something you'd have with a prawn cocktail. Before a meal, maybe a while ago that was. But yeah. So how do you see your pastrami or your brisket being served? How do you like it to, or what's the best way for people to eat it and enjoy it then? Is it in a bagel like I've made it there, or how else is a lovely way?
So if I'm completely honest, so it takes a lot of effort to make brisket really soft. So, and anybody who's cooked brisket will know this, the fattier, the more intermuscular fat you get, the fat cap, it all makes the brisket softer. So, and it's a real challenge. Like if you ever smoke brisket for 12 hours, it sometimes can come out tougher than you want it to be. So if you go through all this effort of curing for 2 weeks and then cooking for 12 hours and, and making it so soft, the last thing you want is put a tough bagel that stops that, the experience of biting to something really buttery. So I had someone, there was a customer of mine who came to an event. We very rarely do events, but sometimes we do. And he came to an event and he ordered pastrami on brioche. And I know it's very unorthodox and, nobody puts pastrami on brioche or white bread, whatever. I did. And he said the first thing he was expecting to have is resistance as you bite into the bread. But there wasn't any. So it just teeth went straight through. Because pastrami, when it's reheated properly or when it's cooked properly, it's actually quite soft. So unlike maybe how we imagine pastrami to be, like I say, we always associate it from the shops, even, the fanciest waitress will still have pastrami, they just sawdust. And I'm sorry to say that.
You get that like really wafer thin, don't you, like strip of pastrami, and it's quite tough. But yeah, your stuff is really like gelatinous. That's the only way I can really explain it. Like it's soft and squidgy.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
So you work really, really hard to break down the fat. Oh my goodness me, look at that. That's stunning. That's a really good attempt at Rubens, Jack.
Well, thank you.
What did you think?
Love a sandwich. You know what? Gorgeous. That crust on the outside is delicious. It's so flavorful. Like I can probably detect like a little bit of cardamom in there, a little bit of cinnamon, like some really like sweet flavors. Gorgeous.
Very good. So I won't be telling you exactly what went in there, but I can tell you. I think what you detect in that is called mace. So it's like nutmeggy. So it comes from nutmeg, and it tastes a little bit like cinnamon. So I think that's what you can smell.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's just really pure coriander and pepper and sugar. It's just what you would normally coat a brisket with.
Nice.
Really tasty.
So you've been cooking brisket and smoking and poaching for some time, preserving ingredients for some time, and you're originally from Siberia. So tell us a little bit about that. And Siberia to Cheshire, that's a bit of a move.
Yeah. So it's really odd. We always myself and my friends always laugh, when my husband met me about 11 years ago now. So every time he'd introduce me to his friends, it'd be, this Russian, girl with really Russian thick accent. So we always laughed about my accent.
You warned me not to take the mickey out of your accent.
I did say, whoever comments on my accent is not going to get pastrami. So I was actually born in Siberia, and we moved from Siberia when I was quite little, but we moved to the Baltic states. So one of those states is Lithuania. That's where I was raised. But the culture and the background, we used to have really cold winters. So it's even, it's difficult to explain to people who haven't been there or experienced this. But in those temperatures, in -50 or -30 Celsius, nothing can survive. So you can't have fresh vegetables, or you can't have fresh produce like meat, or anything really. So you have to. So we'd harvest all our crops in September, and then we'd have to pickle and ferment and vacuum, whatever, to last it through to March. So it was so normal for us. I was saying to Hillary the other day, the only reason you'd go to shops for would be to buy some clothes or toothpaste or soap. I don't know, something you can't make yourself. All the food had to come from where you live, basically. So luckily to me, my mum and dad had a lot of land, and we always grew our own crops and vegetables. But I was talking to someone about making sausages the other day, and they were not sure how to do it. And I generally made my first sausage probably when I was 7 or even younger than that. We had to butcher our own pigs and cows. So it came from almost like necessity. But so curing and pickling is really normal to me. This is something that we grew up with, basically.
Oh, this is incredible. This is, because for, well, certainly for me at least anyway, smoking a brisket, that's only something I've done in the last sort of 5 years, and I'm a little bit older than 6 years old. I find it incredible that you've learned it from such a young age, and, probably a lot of tips and tricks as well, and, a lot of knowledge.
So the weirdest thing is, so how our culture is, no one has recipe books, so nobody passes on any written recipes to anyone. So as a child, you get taught by your grandmother and your mum more than, in our culture, more than men would have cooked. But my dad is actually a really good, he's got a big barbecue that he's built himself, etc. So he's really good with that. So you pick up the tips from your parents or grandparents, never through written, medium. So you don't actually learn through reading theory, you learn through practice. So I'm hoping that I can pass it on to my child as well, as he understands how to cook. But this is very normal. So we learned, because it's almost in your genes. You learn to cook because you have to, not because, someone's cooked for you. So I remember my husband could never get his head around the fact that, say, when I was 7, I had to go to school on my own. Nobody would walk me to school. And I'd come back home on my own whilst my parents are at work, and I'd have to make my own lunch. So, and that was very, very acceptable. So, which is why cooking, or handling meat is generally just second nature to me.
What made you start Baker and Brisket, Lina? Because I understand it's not something it's quite a new thing, isn't it? It's about a year old.
Yeah, so Baker and Brisket is actually quite young. So it went live in August. So I come from technology background, actually. So I work in the SaaS industry. And unfortunately, in the COVID crisis, we all suffered something, some sort of losses. Obviously nothing too significant here, but I didn't lose my job in the middle of crisis, which was about probably June time. But again, like I'm a workaholic. This is something we get taught, in my culture. You have to work all the time. So I was so kind of bored, and I thought, well, there must be something in my skill set that I can use to entertain myself whilst, I'm not working. So I thought, okay, I know. I can cure and I can ferment. This is something I've learned as a kid. And I've noticed that, for instance, down south, you've got Brick Lane salt beef, Nana Fanny's salt beef, and some other pastrami. Like in New York, you have Katz's Deli. There's all this exciting cured stuff going on, but not in the Northwest, not where we are here in Cheshire. So I thought, I'll do this. I'll just bring the salt beef and pastrami back here. And luckily to me, we've been so successful. It's been, touch wood, obviously, but so thankful to all of our followers and all the support I've had from industry colleagues and competitors, and we've all kind of come together, and they all helped me make this reality. So I'm really grateful.
That's really nice to hear. We've had a lot of people on the heels, haven't we? Who've basically had to change their business model because of COVID, and some great things have come out of it. Like we had Bethnal Green Fish on, who basically used to supply restaurants, but then because of COVID, restaurants shut, so they basically started doing home delivery. and we had some stunning fish from them, and obviously, yeah, we get to meet people like yourself. So yeah, it's, every cloud has a silver lining, I suppose.
No, absolutely. I mean, we've got some really significant plans to grow. The business needs to scale, and it has to scale fast. But I'm just holding it back a little bit because I'm still, you know, it's risky. I've funded it myself, by the way, the whole business, the startup and everything. I funded it from my own funds. So I'm very conscious about making that next step and failing. So, and I know it's not down to me, it's down to what we all are experiencing at the moment. So I'm just waiting for that right moment where I can finally say to all, you know, the followers and everybody who messages me, well, when is the next batch ready? It's coming, which is some time.
So how are you selling everything now? What are you're trading as just locally? People DM you and send you stuff, or are you selling nationally?
No, so we've got, yeah, so thank you for asking, Hilary. We've got a website, which is just a normal trading website, you know, where you can go and choose your pastrami or salt beef or sauerkraut and Russian dressing if you want to make it into a kit. And the website is called Baker and Brisket. There's no complication there. And it's as easy as that. Sometimes people will pre-order, or sometimes they will, I don't know, message me on you know, just via Instagram DMs and Facebook, and to say when's the next batch ready. So what we need to remember, pastrami and salt beef takes a long time to make. So it takes sometimes, you know, slightly over 3 weeks to make. So from the time the brisket lands on my doorstep to it going out to customers, it can way be a month. You know, there's no surprise. It's a lengthy process, which hopefully is worth it, as you experienced today.
Very worth it. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's actually quite simple. So I'm very vocal on social media. When it's ready, I tell everyone that it's ready. But people do pre-order. So we have regular customers who now come, you know, they message me in advance and say, I'll want some pastrami or salt beef on this or that day or weekend, and we just make it happen.
Amazing. And you also cook all your brisket and pastrami on the Traeger, don't you?
I do. Thank you for asking again. So I noticed that behind you, I think it was the other day, I noticed the Traeger.
I've got it. Hold on. How can I turn you round? Hold on. There we go. There she is.
Yeah, that's the one. So
am I right in thinking you're a Traeger brand ambassador now? Is that right?
I am. So that is very new to me. So I was announced to be a Traeger ambassador, and I accepted the offer very kindly, I think 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. So an absolutely fantastic company. I mean, I'm going to be loyal to Traeger. I'm not going to talk about other brands in kind of great detail, but I had tried many grills and smokers, and because I was raised with a very unique, specific taste of smoking. So so what you taste today is very similar to what my dad would have made in his own back garden, except for with homemade smoker, which is technically a big barrel with a big, you know, kind of tube coming out of it, and somewhere to put the wood collected from his own garden as well. Nothing processed, nothing, you know, no additives of any kind. And what I found with Traeger, so the pellets, the actual Traeger pellets, they are so close in smell and in smoke and taste to that traditional old way of smoking, which is why I thought, actually, you know, this is a great company to work with. So I thought I'm more than happy to advocate their produce and what they do.
Yeah, I mean, I've been using Traeger a long time now, and it's great, isn't it? It's effortless, it's constant temperatures. So yeah, I can understand why that's important, because as you say, it's a labour of love, isn't it? I've tried making my own pastrami, and yeah, you go one step wrong, and that's it. That's 2 weeks' work over. So yeah, it's important to have the smoking.
Judging by that shirt you're wearing, Jack, you know, I can see you're quite a Traeger fan.
Yeah, mate. Well, you've got to have your Traeger pellet grill, mate. But yeah, you've got to have one of each, haven't you? You've got to have a ceramic, you've got to have a pellet grill, you've got to have a gas.
Yeah. Oh no, I do. I have some as well. So I've got a gas grill, and I've got, you know, sometimes if you just want, I don't know, like a quick steak searing, or even like pizza, you know, making pizza at home, which is, again, is very normal in our household. You know, you want something really quick and I will use a gas barbecue. Is, you know, no secret here. It needs to be convenient. It needs to be comfortable. But like you say, for pastrami making, the temperature and the consistency when you make it regularly is key. You know, it's really difficult to gain consistency with, I don't know, the traditional ways, I'd say. Or you can do it, but you have to dedicate all of your time to it then.
So if you're barbecuing then, Lina, like obviously, you know, you're a big brisket fan and you like smoking and pastrami, etc. But if you're having a bit of a barbecue with your family, what do you like to cook up for yourself? What's one of your favourite barbecue grills?
Okay, so I'll still say it'll still be low and slow for me. So I'll have pork shoulder. We'll have pulled pork, like, I don't know, burgers or buns or, you know, brioche filled with pulled pork. I'll still go for the, you know, 7 hours. I get up really early. So I get up about 5 o'clock in the morning every day, maybe 5:30 if I'm lazy. But I'm an early riser. So for me to put a smoker on in the morning, first thing in the morning, and then reap the benefits in the evening is very normal. There's, you know, it's just something I'm used to. So I make the most of it, that I don't actually spend time cooking. However, having said that, I like anything barbecued, and really I actually like fish as well and seafood. So I'm genuinely big fan of seafood together with meat. So if I could have like a perfect lobster and steak or something like that, that would be my ideal barbecue dinner.
Yeah, bit of surf and turf. That sounds
Yeah.
like a good combination.
Well, this is fantastic, because this is what we're all about, is promoting all of the various, you know, ways to barbecue. You know, if you like love getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning, like Jack does, and I kind of do, and yourself does.
That's how you go to bed, isn't it?
But yeah, no, it's great to see. It's great to see the different types of barbecue, and it's great to see you out there smoking and showing people. Do you do stuff online, and you sort of teach people or tell people what you're doing and what's going on, or?
So I've not been asked a lot of times, and I'm more than happy to do that, because I mean, sometimes people say, well, are you not scared of giving away all the trade, you know, secrets? I mean, I swear, there's so many things that can go wrong in this. Even if I came and held your hand and said, this is what you have to do, next time you do it on your own, it can still go wrong. So unless you've completely perfected it, I don't know, like, I'm still teaching today, you know, learning myself today. So every time you smoke something goes wrong every single time without failure. So there's either some temperature inconsistency or smoke inconsistency. There's always something to learn from it. So I think there was about 4 months ago, Viva magazine, actually, one of the ladies from the food columnist, she contacted me and asked if I could write an article about salt beef, or she could write about it. And she said, do you mind sharing a recipe? Because nobody would ever do. And I said, absolutely, have this recipe and good luck making it, because it takes 3 weeks to make, and I don't know who has that patience to do it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what I was saying to Hillary before you came on. Why would you attempt something that could go so wrong when someone else is basically nailing it for you every time? Just yeah,
and
the expert.
You just need to remember, when you cure, you're using a nitrate. Let's be honest about it. So it's a very, very dangerous thing to use. You have to really wait with digital scales. Never use any more than is recommended. It's really dangerous. It actually can do serious damage to your health. So you need to be really careful. So I sometimes hear people like, you know, oh, I tried curing it, I just poured it in with a spoon. No, none of that, please. Nitrate is really serious. So you have to measure with digital scales, do exactly as it says on the packaging, or contact your curing agent, you know, or whoever provides you with this, you know, Prague powder 1 or Prague powder number 2, depending on what you're curing. But you have to take it really seriously. So also, having said that, if you don't use that nitrate, if you just use salt for a period of time, be mindful how you do it. 2 weeks of beef outside in, you know, dangerous temperatures with salt can have significant health, you know, issues. I don't want to say the worst, but, you know, it's really serious. So if you're curing, or if you're trying to cure, do it in the right way, follow all the guidelines and health advice. There's so much information out there, but just make sure you do it absolutely safely.
Okay.
Leave us
And how did? How did you learn all? Where did you get these ingredients if you were in Siberia then? Are they, or there was much more sort of common ingredients that you were able to use?
It's a very widespread and very normal, very common ingredient. So nitrates and nitrites, it's very, we cure bacon and we cure, things have been cured for generations and centuries and centuries. This is not a new ingredient in Siberia or anywhere else in the world. It's very normal. You just need to, I suppose a normal household will not have it at home because you have to have interest in it and you just need to know about it. So, a lot of things are cured that we eat on a daily basis. We just don't know that it is.
Okay. Wow. And then what else I'm curious to see what sort of else in Siberia they would cook up and cure there, like to have there. What else, stuff that's what we know here.
I can't imagine what minus 50 would be like.
It sounds very odd, but we would eat the entire animal. So, for instance, in this country, it's very unusual. So, if we had, let's say, a pig, we would have everything. So, everything. You eat the whole thing. So, everything is utilized. You don't bin anything from its, not just belly, but like all the, I don't know, the heart, the kidneys, the what do you call the pigs. From no.
The bits.
The ears, you eat everything. So, what it's your... Well, yeah, so the offal as in all the kidneys and the stomachs and everything. So, like I said, nothing goes to waste, absolutely nothing. So if something can be preserved by, for instance, cooking, it's almost like, that my husband absolutely hates it. It looks like gelatin because it is gelatin. So it's like potted meat, I think you call it in this country, like shredded potted meat. So we used to just put them in jars, vacuum seal them, and just put it away in somewhere really cool. And, in the winter, you just open it and just have it, Or, for instance, when you render fat, whether it's beef or pork, and, you render the fat into what looks like butter. And if you have any, like, leftovers of meat in that's even better. You just spread it on bread and just eat it on toast.
I think a lot we can learn from all of this over here. This is, it sounds like some wonderful ingredients and, some magic things you could do with stuff like that. And, I'm sure there's ways that we can make it sort of, what would you call it? British size it and make it interesting.
Yeah, there's, every culture is different and everybody's got their own unique ways of doing things. So South Africans will dry things and, we will maybe ferment and then cook, or I don't know, we marinate things. And so, for instance, very, very popular thing in where I'm come from, they would skew on a skewer, metal skewers. We have these like, almost like what you would in South Africa would be a braai, hot coals, basically, and you cook everything over coals. So we have the exact same technique in Lithuania and Russia, whereby I would skew big chunks of really fatty, a lot of intermuscular fat meat. So whether it's pork or beef, but we marinated the night before, for instance, in either mayonnaise and onions and some mustard, for instance. That's the most basic one. Oil and vinegar, one or the other, and then skew them on metal skewers and then grill over that hot coal. And it's absolutely amazing. There's no, like, we eat that just as is. Maybe a little bit of rice or maybe some cucumber and tomatoes, but that's it. No, nothing else needed. Just meat.
Very healthy diet, that. Very healthy.
I know. I keep saying it's keto, isn't it? Yeah. It's basic keto. Forget the rice.
Yeah, just meat and a little bit of token vegetables.
I noticed that you mentioned something about healthy food the other day. Are you on some sort of health kick or health diet?
I mean, I've got my own range of rubs, and we basically developed those rubs because we were keto for a long time. So the rubs I do are all made with no added sugar, because obviously, like, the secret sugars in your food is, sometimes you don't realise, like, your barbecue rub contains, you've got 200 grams of rub, but like 80 grams of that might be sugar. So we developed a range that was sugar-free. But we eat very much like you just said, like meat, vegetables, very little carbohydrates. Obviously, I have like a portion of chips every now and again, and mashed potatoes or whatever. But as a rule, like of a night, we normally stick to meat, veg, salad. So I think it's a great way of eating.
No,
I'm,
same
I'm
here.
a,
So I very frequently would just have a slice of pastrami or a slice of salt beef on its own, or with a gherkin, or with some sauerkraut. I know it sounds weird that someone has a meal like this, but this is what I eat. Very well done, Hillary.
I just had to show that off, show that off again. I did have one earlier today, and it was absolutely delicious. Really, really enjoyed it. So, I think tell everybody how they can get a hold of some of your lovely brisket and pastrami. And
Absolutely. So you can, by all means, you can always check out our website. Like I say, there's always sometimes a gap between one batch or another, purely because I can't control how big the cows come to me, and how long they will cure. Sometimes they'll cure 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks or longer. I don't know. So but the website is always up to date by saying, next batch is on this date, etc. So go on our website, which is baconbrisket.com. Or alternatively, we are on social media, both Instagram and Facebook. You can always just drop me a line, and I respond pretty much imminently if I'm not busy. Majority of the times I am, but I will always respond regardless. And like I say, people sometimes pre-order, and that's also okay, because I know, I just write it down and I remember with the next batch someone wants X and Y and Z, and just make it happen. Yeah, we do actually post nationwide, which is how you guys received your parcels. And it's quite easy. Our courier is we use an overnight courier because it's a perishable product, so it comes with just ice packs, basically in temperature controlled packaging. And as soon as you receive it, you put it in the fridge, or you eat it like I would, and you take it from there, basically. And we do, a lot of people actually come and collect it. So we have a very wide audience in Cheshire. Like I say, it's a bit unusual for us to have it here in Cheshire. So we've got a lot of customers just come and, to our property and basically collect it from where we are.
okay.
Where did you get your beef from?
Beef is actually local to Cheshire, so I've purposely chosen. I don't want to say it's because I'm a particularly super ethical person. It just made sense for me. We live by we've got a lot of Cheshire Plains around us, so it makes sense to not import beef from somewhere else when we've got everything on our doorstep. So I work with a local butcher who sources and slaughters the beef where they are, and it literally is like 2 miles up the road. So I'm quite happy to keep it that way for now.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. That's what we like to hear, don't we? Hills, like people using the businesses local to them, and yeah, obviously like animal welfare is paramount, isn't it? So yeah, if they're dispatched locally and grown locally, better for the animal at the end of the day.
Perfect. So. All right, then. Well, perhaps we should sort of wind it up now. But on a last note, I did spend some time in the Ukraine, so I've got a little bit of Russian. And if I try it out, can you tell me how my how's that? You ready? Here we go. Очень приятно, девушка. Меня зовут Хиллари. Это мой брат Жак. Как дела?
What did you say about me?
Спасибо. That's quite funny. Yeah, well done. Yeah, didn't know you were related. You have very different accents.
I tried to say that you were my brother, Jack, but maybe a brother from another mother, but I don't know how to say that in Russian.
Comrade, is it Davrish?
Tavarish, yeah. Спасибо, Tavarish. Yeah. Thank you. What else is there? Oh, there's some really good Russian words, like bistro, Jack. Did you know bistro was a Russian? It
know that.
Means faster, I think, doesn't it? And then my understanding is it came from the military.
It actually is, yeah.
So bistro is, the military. That's where they'd eat because it was sort of a fast way to eat. So they call it faster.
Okay, that's interesting.
Go to the bistro to eat. It's just a fast place to eat. There's some really, really cool words in Russian I found. But anyway, that's a long story. But but any last notes then, Jack? And should let Lina get on and get.
Just a big thank you. Obviously, yeah, loved having you on. Really interesting chatting to you about your your past and how obviously you've got Baker and Brisket up and running, and the pastrami is, well, let's just let it speak for itself, shall we? Look at that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I mean, it's stone cold now, but I hope it tastes still fine.
Oh yeah, amazing.
It's going to disappear.
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry about that.
Oh, bless. Oh, thank you so much for having me.
And thank you very much. All the best with what you're doing. All the best with your smoking. And everyone out there, bakerandbrisket.com, Baker and Brisket on all of the socials. Get in touch and order it. It is sensational.
Yeah.
Well,
Don't
I've got
miss
something
much
ready
on do it
for myself
yourself.
here, so
Oh,
cheers.
Huh?
cheers.
All the best. Have a great weekend.
All the best, guys. Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.